I know this video may not be exciting for everyone who watches my channel, even though my channel is kind of chaotically all over the place on what I upload. I haven't done stuff that like I normally do like years ago. And of course, I can blame my adult life and other factors. But regardless, I wanted to make this video as a more personal thing. And I guess a similar message to a lot of other people who have not heard about stuff like this. Uh, I've showed the games off my channel, but I still want to talk about it because it's on my mind as in about a couple of weeks will be um, when I first ever played Sound Voltex. 2 years ago on April 3rd, I was able to go down to round one here in the US, where I live, to play Sound Voltex after a friend of mine introduced me to it months ago. And it has opened the door on a massive scale that I've talked about with friends, but I've never really fully convened it in a way that I really want to in general, because maybe some people can understand, feel the same way, or you never know. And that's kind of how I like about doing discussions and everything like that. Rhythm games to me have always brought in a huge connection with me and me being autistic. And I know I've not talked about that relatively often or too many public videos per se. Some people could probably think it's obvious from some of my past videos or just how I am in nature. Regardless, like I am under the spectrum, I am autistic. And I struggle with that a lot in certain cases, and I try my best to help myself better and everything. Um, but one of the things that really helps connect me a lot with myself was with rhythm games. Music has always been a huge component with me. I loved playing the piano, even though I haven't done a whole lot of lessons with it. And I really enjoyed just what music brings to me, how music can make me emotional and think of stories and creations and stuff that someday I would love to write a book or create something with them. But, life goes one direction and I don't expect all of them to be made real. But music always brings a lot to me and what a lot of artists have brought to me over the years and why I listen to them often. And rhythm games bring another side of that in a massive degree because most of my life when I listen to music, I always did movements or dance or whatever like that in a rhythmic way. And dancing is, a rhythm way, but I was doing a lot of other things with the music because of where it was coming from. And when I saw people making music videos and things that were always like in sync with the music, like Mystery Skulls did years ago with that animation, well, he didn't make the animation, but you know what I mean. It always brought in a lot of ways of what music can bring to me and my brain and how it helps. And rhythm games really bring another side of that in a different way because of it. Now, most people, I feel, is first introduction of a rhythm game would be relatively Guitar Hero. It was one of the massively successful things on the PS2. It was on the console, and a lot of people knew about that and grew up with it. Some people who were able to go to the arcade often, which I didn't a whole lot as a kid, but I knew of Dance Dance Revolution, DDR. And most people know of DDR in that aspect as well. But it's kind of like the grand lexicon of the United States and most of the world. I feel like people would know Guitar Hero / Rock Band a little bit more. And the last game that I played that was my passion game was DJ Hero before that got killed off. And so I heard about some, other things in passing, but not much enough that I focused on. I knew DDR because I have played it before, but DDR was always a struggle for me because of the fact that I could understand left and right, but I couldn't understand up and down in those patterns, and I always got confused with the movements. But getting involved with Sound Voltex really has opened the door in a massive degree, and I've been playing a lot of rhythm games now that I try to open the door more for people who probably never played much rhythm games or knew of stuff but never got not able to really play some of this. and learning about like Beatmania 2DX and the recent release Chrono Circle and absolutely relatively recent Music Diver, Dance Around, which is basically like arcade Dance Central. Project Diva, not my thing, but that exists. Groove Coaster, Getadora, Tuna Thumb that we finally have access even though it's offline. All of these games that exist that we're able to play in the US through a subsidiary of Round 1 from Japan is very, very nice, but obviously not everyone has access to it. I mean, I have to go 2 hours down in the state of Wisconsin just to go to my round one, which is a long drive, but it's worth it for being able to be in an environment and these people that I meet and being a part of these rhythm game communities. And I especially love the fact that these communities I've been a part of has been always very nice, has always been encouraging, and there's no elitism. Anyone who tries to be is fucking shut down. We don't deal with that because this is not supposed to be that. Yes, if you're passing level 20s in Sound Voltex, absolutely congratulations, pucking those stuff, getting a perfect ultimate chain. Great. But no one should be shooting people down because they only play Sound Voltex on, say, level 7, or they only play Beatmania on level 4, or anything like that. Games should be enjoy and having fun, and that's one of the things that I always try to encourage massively because of that. Because of what I've been through and where I've growth from that. Like with Sound Voltex, when I started playing it, my goal was to find one song in particular, which was World of Sound. That song has that was the first song that I was introduced to Sound Voltex when one of my good friends showed me a video about it. And that song emotionally hit me when I first heard it and seen how the song is played. Now, when I first saw it, I thought that game is crazy. I don't think I'm ever going to reach that. I think it's going to be way too complicated for me because of how my brain is. Because sometimes there's a certain moment where like I just lose function because my brain is having a hard time processing things. But it was a song that I wanted to play. And when I finally got to play Sound Voltex, my goal was to find that. Now, obviously, playing on a machine that's from Japan, a lot of the menus have Japanese lettering. I don't know Japanese yet as much as I want to study at some point in my life. So, trying to figure out how to find that song was very difficult. Um, so when I started playing it and trying to find it, I was playing a bunch of songs at level 4 difficulty on Sound Voltex. But the moment that I found the World of Sound, I immediately took the risk and bumped it at 11. I failed. 100%. I failed out of that song on the first shot. But I kept at it. I kept playing that song. I kept trying. And then I passed it. And I emotionally cried from that, because of how much it meant to me to pass that song of what got me introduced to Sound Voltex in the first place. Now, my score was considerably awful. My accuracy was way off. I missed a lot of notes. But you know what? Scoring, I think it was like 886 or something, or maybe 870, was still a proud achievement for someone who did an 11 for the first time at that. Like, most people would work their way up, do some 5s, then move to 6, then move to... I went straight to 11 after doing some 4s. And that was definitely difficult and, a lot of credit wastings, but I had fun, I had enjoyment, and I got there. And then later on, I finally got myself a Sound Voltex controller so I can play it on PC, because Konami has an official cloud system that I pay a monthly subscription for, which people can argue is dumb and terrible. Why can't you just do this? Regardless, it's the only way to officially play it at home, because normally they would just lock it at the arcade and that's the only way you can play it. But playing it at home, made it really nice to have my own environment to work on it. So when I first got it, my plan was to try and play every level 10 and every level 11 that I had access to, because most of the songs were regulated to DLC packs to download, which I didn't have a whole lot of money. So I did all level 10s and I did all level 11s, and my plan was to mostly focus on trying to just pass with a 900 with an ultimate goal of a 950. 950 really means that my accuracy is pretty on point and I'm doing really, really good. And in the beginning, there was some struggle trying to get used to how buttons were played, the laser works, and some of the stuff. It took a bit for my hands to get to it. But then it got to the point where I had friends suggesting me songs that were at level 12s and level 13s, and originally I struggled with those. Things like Ultimate Session, Banging Burst, 4 Ultra Players, Two Flow. These songs were difficult, but then I passed them, and I kept going. And then I passed my first 15, then my first 16, then my first 17. And literally 2 weeks ago, I passed my first set of 18s as I uploaded on YouTube, if you saw them. 2 years of playing this game, and I'm reaching the 18s relatively. I've passed probably over 60 level 17s and over 100 level 16s. Granted, people could argue the scores are not good enough. The only way to judge that your skill is going immaculately well is you need to be getting your accuracies up to like 970s, 980s, getting triple A's and S ranks. And I 100% understand that. It's something I definitely need to work on, is my accuracy to be able to get higher scores. But I'm more proud of the fact that I'm able to survive them, that I'm able to pass them, even pass them at, say, 71% exceed rate, which is what you need to pass the song in the first place. And so that really makes me happy to be there. And with being varied out with a bunch of other games, like playing DDR, Pump It Up, 2DX, Chrono Circle, and so on, has helped translate things back and forth, very subtle ways, to be honest, that I've been able to just pick up new games almost instantly. Chrono Circle was a little strange, being a kind of a mixture between like crossbeat, speed stream, touchscreen system with the whole wheel stuff that my uses. And I was able to get myself up to the 9s and 10s pretty fast. Now, the max is 15s, and I have some work to do to get past the 10s and 11s at that point. But the fact that I was able to pick it up and get right to that relative media range almost immediately is a good sign of how much these games have picked up from that. I've gotten better slowly with DDR, passing some 7s and 8s. I passed a 9 a few months back, and I'm pretty happy where this has gone. Rhythm games really speak to me in a massive degree, and I'm so happy to be where I am and the people that I've met. The people who have helped me find other songs to try out, songs to encourage, try doing this, setting up some goals, and it's opened my palette massively in different ways with how it felt. And for being 31 years old and being able to get where I am makes me really fucking happy in so many different ways. And so the thing that the whole point of this video is just more of a cathartic thing for me and something else for people who want to listen to. It's not an exciting video, and I don't blame people who probably turned this off already, minutes ago. But thank you for listening anyways, because I wanted to talk about this with how much it's been on my mind. Playing a lot of these games really helped me and just myself in ways that I don't know how to explain it in words. It just helps my autistic brain, and it makes me feel happier just hearing music, playing to it, and passing stuff. It's so much fun of what these games and their patterns create in so many different ways. The people I've met, the communities I'm a part of, and just so many other things over time. Plus, discovering so many other rhythm games that we sadly don't have access to here because the company don't want to do their own US release of them. You have Yubi, you have MyMy. Junitham doesn't have an online system here because of reasons that relate to like Sega and Round 1 in some legal department. And then there's like so many other rhythm games that I've never heard of, and I've been slowly learning through these communities and people and friends who are actually in Japan. And it's so fascinating that we just don't have these. And you could argue maybe it relates to the fact that the arcade scene is not as prolific or as similar as to what Korean, Japan, and some other locations tend to do. Most people who think of arcades just think of ticket games relatively, or the light gun games. I almost just completely forgot the word. And that tends to be the case. There's not a whole lot of arcades that exist in the standard sense, and in my personal opinion, most new arcade games that tend to get released that aren't ticket based don't really they don't have enjoyment. They're not really fun in some cases. They just feel like something that gets put out there to be put out there. And it's honestly, arcade trends are always such an interesting thing to look into. But like there are but rhythm games just have a special place to me with that environment. Like most arcade games, I don't touch relatively. Like a lot of the light guns games, I don't really touch because they don't feel enjoyable if you die within like 5 minutes of the first credit, because the games are somewhat designed to make you keep, quarter crunching in to keep continuing and stuff like that. Like the chances of you being able to complete the game with one credit is very difficult to do. But rhythm games have a whole different feeling for it and what you can do, especially with the fact that these games have account cards and servers and saving systems. So it makes things a little bit more enjoyable to go forward on, in my opinion. Some of the racing games do that too, but yeah. But either way, it just makes me very happy to be where I am with rhythm games, the people I met, the friends I've had over time, and just things that I just think about. But something else I wanted to mention, kind of as an end of the video, is if you're always curious about certain history or rhythm games that sadly do not exist anymore, I highly recommend this person by the name of Jack. Their YouTube channel is Loserman Wins. They do a lot of these very beautiful video essays about rhythm games that died in some way, and tries to research every possible avenue about them, their versions, their release, maybe their big achievements and things like that. And they do a good job bringing up stuff from games that you probably have never heard of that are sadly discontinued. One of which is a arcade machine that I would love to buy sometime in my life if I'm able to, called Musica or Museka. It's a fascinating little game if you want to look into that as well. But very long video for just kind of rambling, but you know what? I tend to do that from time to time. But I just wanted to throw this out there because it was on my mind, and playing Sound Voltex for almost 2 years, and the people I've met, it's brought a lot with me. And if any of these games that you've seen or heard before are interested in playing, try to see if you can find a local round one near you. Most of it tends to be on like the west side of the United States, I think. There's some in the east side, but it's usually like one location per state, while California has like 7, you know. But slowly they're expanding. Like I think Arizona's getting a second one, but that's a tangent. Either way, I highly recommend trying these out and playing these games. But the biggest thing I always want to say to people is have fun. Don't worry about any other people. If people want to be judgy about the fact that you failed a level 3, fuck them, because that's not what these games should be about. These games should be enjoyable, fun, and encouraging. Yeah, you failed a level 3, but you know what? You get up, you try again, you keep going, and guess what? You start learning the patterns, you start learning how the game functions, and then you start passing more 3s, and then you get to 4s. Oh, look at you, you're passing 4s, and it's such a great feeling of what these games can bring, at least to me. But overall, I hope you guys have a wonderful day and take care. Thank you for listening to me talk about this because it was on my mind for a while. Have a wonderful day and take care. Wow! Wow! That was a first shot! You're fucking kidding me on that!